You have found what lights you up. I'm your host, Sunny the Life Coach, and I'm here because I see you searching for something or someone out there to help you feel better. Something to take away the pain that you're feeling, the inadequacies. I know all of the things that happen in life can leave you feeling empty. Your search is over. This podcast is all about finding your own freedom and power to love yourself enough to shine in the ways you were always meant to, the ways in which you are already fully capable of. If you're ready for some real talk, some serious truth bombs, and a few F-bombs, you are in the right place. Let's do this. Let's get lit. Hey there, hey, welcome. As always, I am grateful that you pressed play, and especially on this fantastic conversation with my friend Kim Guillory around human design. Now, if you listened to my last episode, I kind of teed this one up for you, but it's not necessary that you hear that one first. I have seen or heard Kim virtually around my coaching circles for a while now. And I recently had an opportunity to jump on a small group Zoom chat with her that wasn't at all about human design, but somehow it came up as our group was talking. I don't even remember how it came up. It just did. It was so great that I think there were 6 of us. We all knew our human design. And by knowing, I mean, I just know my labels, if you will, at this point, but I'm definitely drawn right into a space of tell me more. Because during that group chat, I just immediately appreciated her perspectives about everything. So I asked her pretty soon afterward if she was willing to record just a high-level overview of what human design even is. Let me tell you a little bit more about Kim. She is an integrative life coach. What that means is that she infuses so many different aspects of being a human into her own life, her business, and her approach with clients and just other humans in general. Her podcast title is More Than Mindset, and it has really drawn me right in because intuitively, I believe I've always understood that there is more to this experience of being human than your mind and your thoughts. I've talked about intuition recently too. That doesn't come from your conscious brain. That many of us as coaches are consistently guiding you to recognize simply because we don't recognize that automatically. So, what is an integrative life coach? Well, Kim has trained as a life coach through the Life Coach School, as a health coach through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. She is also a certified hypnotherapist, yoga teacher, massage therapist, trained in somatic therapy, and a Reiki master. She has worked with some of the best sales experts and mentors in the online space, and she has combined all this work into one truth, that is this. These are her words, one truth. The mind, body, soul, and strategy are intimately connected, and it wasn't until I integrated all of this that I discovered the simple process to change everything and create anything. Oh, yes. Now, let me just give you a little insight into what to expect from this episode. I've given you a little background on who Kim is and how she operates and how I know her. Let me tell you how I operate when I'm having these conversations. I don't typically have an agenda, and I will maybe outline some general questions or topics that I want to touch on if I'm asked to do so. But many times when I talk with someone here, We just go with the flow. And I ask whatever comes to mind in that moment. This is one of those times, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And we're going to talk about some taboo things today. We're going to talk about religion, politics, and even suicide. We're going to get a bit fired up about some things. And if that triggers you, or if you're not okay with that, I encourage you to hear it anyway. Why? Because if you're triggered, your own intuition might just be inviting you to explore something inside. Just saying. Please do not expect this to be a deconstruction of what human design is. We're not going to list all of the possible combinations, what they might mean, or anything like that. If you want to know more, connect with Kim, and she will school you on the matter. Or she'll take you to church. That's what she does for me. Either way, I think you're going to enjoy her approach. What we're going to do in the spirit of integration is talk about how our unique human design shows up in our daily lives while society tries to put us in boxes. It's a beautiful thing. So let's get to it. Hi, Kim. Welcome to the podcast. What lights you up?
What lights me up?
Yeah, you.
To be honest, like when I am present with clients, I am lit and connected. So I think I have found my golden path. And when you say light, I think of when I say golden path, those two together, like I truly believe that it is the work that I do, the contribution that I make, and the connections that come from that. Now, listen, I have 5 kids and 12 grandbabies. It's not that they don't light me up. It's that when you ask, like, what lights you up? When do I feel like that lighthouse? It's for sure whenever I'm in my work.
I love it. I love that. And I love that you acknowledge that it doesn't have to be, I'm using air quotes now, doesn't have to be your kids, your grandkids, your family, that kind of thing.
I feel like it's almost like that's a given. And I find when we're doing like the gratitude stuff during Thanksgiving, it's like that's what everyone's looking for. But it's like there are other things that are little things. There are like that's kind of like what's expected.
Yeah.
I don't work that way.
I love it.
That's just a given. Like, yeah, for sure. I love all of that.
Of course.
But what keeps me going, what gets me out of bed, what got me moving when I had COVID was being able to hop on a call, like being in my soul essence of the contribution that I believe I'm here to make, like in an individual way through wholeness and expression. I'd say that's like, I sit in the living room with my kids and grandkids and I love it. And I love being with them and I love traveling with them, but it doesn't have that same effect as the solidity in, I don't even know where time is.
You called it a golden path. Tell me more.
Yeah. It's the journey of wholeness, of completion, of satisfaction. We're talking about human design. So I'm for sure going to talk about, what is like the generator's path to wholeness and to living in that essence is satisfaction.
We are totally talking about human design, and I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. And I know that, tell us a little bit more about you and the work that you do, like overall, and how human design kind of weaves into it, if you can.
Yeah, human design found me a few years ago. So I started off, I had a client here that was one of my, I'll say my yoga students, and she mentioned like a birth chart, astrology, and like that kind of stuff. This was like many years ago. And I kind of looked into it. She told me about a couple of people who could do that for me. And I ended up hiring someone and worked with her for like 4 years. And then when she retired, I moved into someone else. So it's been over 8 years that I have been with someone every single month, really just talking about the changes that are happening around us that we take personally.
Mm.
Kind of like someone talks about Mercury retrograde, right? That's like
Yeah.
a time of this back up and let's spin, let's rewind, let's repeat. In case you didn't get that, right? In case you're out of alignment, Mercury's going to help bring that back into alignment. So it's going to revisit some stuff, some patterns. So I was like, that makes so much sense. You know, it's not just coincidental that like all of the communication breaks apart. You try to have a conversation and it's like, oh, we can't get to the other side of this. And you try to hook up your printer and it doesn't work. And like everything that communicates just suddenly stops. And you think about the full moon and you talk to someone who works at the hospital and they're like, oh God, it's a full moon this weekend. Here comes the crazies, right? Where did all that come from?
Lunatic. Yes.
And,
right.
and even thinking about like, when do you plant asparagus or broccoli, or you go according to the cycles, right? There's a Farmer's Almanac and it tells you the moon cycles and it tells you what's going on. And so I'm like, well, if all of that works, then maybe there's something for the human. Maybe it affects us too. Right? So it made total sense. Well, then I came across human design. And I still, by the way, I still meet with my astrologer every month just because we're such good friends now. And it's just like, what's going on? It's more like a couple of hours of just checking in with each other and, seeing where it's going. And sometimes I will send her a message and say, what the hell is pinging me? What's for enough years? It brought me into, like, I don't do astrology myself. So when I found human design, it made total sense. Like, I don't know how, I don't know how I understand it. Like, but when I can look at it, it makes total sense. It made sense in my life when I found out that I was a 6-2, that I was a generator, that I was an emotional authority. That changed everything. It was like a permission slip to experience myself, to experience others from a non-personal perspective, to take personal responsibility for what I wanted to create or contribute or express. That I was able to do that as a unique individual. Before I became a life coach, I studied IIN, Institute of Integrative Nutrition, as a health coach. And that's where I learned about bioindividuality. And since I've seen that and started studying that, everything that I bring into my life is because it supports that, and human design does as well. Bioindividuality is like, instead of having a bag of brown M&Ms, which is what so many people are fighting for right now in our world, to all be the same color, to all think the same thing, to all get the same amount of money, to all live in the same place, to all live in the, like, everybody the exact same. You should choose this, you should choose that. There's like, everybody thinks you should pray to the same God, you should do the same things, you should have the same routines and rituals, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't align to that. Like, it doesn't work for me. I wish at some point, I spent a lot of years wishing it would. I wanted to belong. I wanted to be like everyone else. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to have what they had. Like, it would have been a great idea.
Because we think that equates to connection, right? With other people, with other humans. Yeah.
So instead, I would pick the bag of Skittles. Where we're all a variety of colors and flavors. And so it's like, color the rainbow, right? It could be whatever you want. It's like, it's an expression that, can you imagine if our whole entire world was brown? It would look like the Mississippi River.
Right.
That's not really exciting. I mean, that's Holly Beach is like the closest beach to me. It's all brown. Even the sand is the same color as the water. Like, it's just all the same. It's murky and it's not exciting. And I mean, it would be like if all of your movies were just humdrum drama.
Yeah.
Why do people get on the roller coaster? Why do they watch this scary movie? Why do they want to go see someone who's dying of cancer? Why? To feel all of the emotions, to experience all of it. Like, this soul came to experience humanity in the material world. And yet we're here and we're being told to go off to nirvana. Let's go meditate. Let's go to the Himalayas. Let's go do plant journeys. Let's go everywhere else except for the body.
Yeah.
And so when you're looking at human design and you're looking at the body graph, like, that is our life. That is the experience. And being like, we're in the back seat, we're the passenger, we're in this body experiencing it. So it would be like instead of being at the theater on the stage, you're at the theater in the audience.
Ooh, I love this. I love it, love it, love it. I love where you are going with this, because I talk about often about experiencing our life as a movie, right? As a watcher, as, someone who is visualizing everything unfolding. So this idea that you are experiencing it, you are in the audience and experiencing something unfold on the stage is perfect. It's so perfect.
So when we're on the stage, if we were in the play, right, which we are,
we are
in like that emotional push, pull, turmoil, attack, all of that stuff. We have to put on the costume to play the part. But when we can watch ourselves play the part, isn't that interesting? I'm curious. So I wonder what's going to happen next. Isn't this fascinating? Instead of me being in control of what's going to happen next, instead of me making it in this costume, which is ironically so what we're taught to do with the conditioning, right? Put on this costume, act like this person, say these things so they'll like you. Should be nice. Follow the script that everyone feels good. So we are taught to be responsible for everyone's feelings. We are taught to be responsible for their experience. We are taught that that is our responsibility, that we can make people think a certain way, feel a certain way. We need to like take control of that in order for it. So it's like, that's where we learn emotional manipulation. Yeah. I never did feel right. Right. And so this system teaches about bioindividuality, about having our own experience, about coming to wholeness. And I think the part that really intrigues me is if we were taught this, because Ross says it's for the children. It's for the children. Allow the children to be who the children are in their authority. But what do we do instead? We try to give them something. They say, yeah. And we override their authority and we tell them they shouldn't say no. They shouldn't do that. They should eat what they don't want. They should listen to the adults, that they are not authority and responsible for their own life. Someone else is. And so when we can recognize that our children have come here to be their own identity, just because we were the vehicle they came to in order to get here, doesn't mean we have control of who they end up being.
Oh my God. I love up all for that. This. Yes. Yes. Their soul contract. Yes. Is that what you're kind of getting at in that regard? Yes. Right.
All
right.
Of us are teaching each other something. Having 5 children and now 12 grandbabies, I have learned so much. Because there was the time of being taught that we were responsible for where they ended up. We were responsible. Like, matter of fact, the better they did, the better we looked.
Yes, it's about us. Yes, 100%. So it's about
so much pressure on who they should marry, what color should their boyfriend or girlfriend be, or what they should or shouldn't do, what they should believe in. I mean, everything. I love the 4 agreements. And he says, like, you didn't even choose your own name. Someone chose your name. They chose your religion. And they told you what to believe.
I love that too.
Like that's in perfect alignment with human design. It's saying the same thing. So many systems are saying the same thing. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be a guide, to be a leader, to be a teacher, and to share. But I don't do it as a chart reader where I'm going to take you through a session and I'm going to tell you something, because that's exactly what's been done. Rather than that, I'm going to take you into this self-discovery. I'm going to take you into this journey of self-learning where you can learn about it and then you can integrate it. So you consider one thing, just start with strategy and authority, consider one thing and go and practice it. And until you've practiced it, until you've had the experience, don't move to the next, because human design is not intellectual.
Oh my gosh. It's not intellectual. I know that is what we are, again, conditioned and programmed to respond to, the intellect.
I need to learn all of the gates. I need to know what all these numbers mean. I need to understand with it. that is going to keep people further away from their design. And it's really interesting because when you find it, it's so fascinating. I mean, you just want to throw yourself in, you want to read charts on everyone, but until you're living your strategy and authority, you really have no business doing that.
So what is the strategy? And we're not going to go down a list because it is just it's so big, right? I mean, it's so comprehensive, I think,
it's
right?
understanding how to make decisions
Mm-hmm.
according to your authority.
Mm.
So that's what I'm saying about the child when you're trying to give them the green beans or the sweet peas or the thing that they don't want, and they're doing
No.
and we're like, bam, stop that, eat this, do what I said. This is where it starts.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it starts even further back than that. Think about when you deliver the baby and you're in the hospital and people come to visit and they're like, oh, they got toes just like Uncle John, or they're going to be a basketball player just like Aunt Lucy, or that's where it starts. That's where the conditioning starts. Like we start predicting and labeling and judging and expecting at the get-go, sometimes even when they're in utero, right? We already start that. And because they're in the body and they're feeling the sensations and they're taking on some of these memories and what's going on in the physical body. So all of that starts there. And then they come and then they're told that they're wrong. You should want this. You should like that. You should want to go and hang out with Aunt Emily. You should want to go and kiss them or be hugged by them. And they're like, it doesn't feel good. I don't want to.
Right.
And then we tell them that's wrong and impolite, and they're not going to have any friends and no one's going to like them, and they're making other people uncomfortable. And that is their responsibility to make the other person comfortable. This is why there's so many people having sex when they don't want to have sex anymore, staying married when they don't want to be married anymore. Like all of the crap that we're living is coming from that, from someone else putting their authority over yours, overriding your authority. And I think we're seeing these systems break apart right now.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're up against.
Yeah.
Your body, my body, the government's body, the collective, all of that stuff is what we're experiencing. And so human design has taught me so much. I am so grateful that I started this years ago because I can handle what we're experiencing right now with.
Yes.
I'm actually taking out the popcorn.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is getting interesting. Like, whoa, okay. It's so fascinating to watch. What I say is like the influencers who just have to pick up their blueberry pancakes and they get 50,000 likes in 2 minutes just for showing their pancake. They're like, their panties are in a knot because they're not getting their way. We saw the same thing happen for the election. We saw the same thing happen with COVID, with the Black Lives Matter, all of this stuff. It's like there's this power in control. And it's not just the government, but it's the influencers of the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. So telling you how you should think, how you should feel, how you should feel about this or that or whatever is happening.
They're not the authority. They are not the authority of us.
That is so damn good.
They're the popular girls. They're the cool girls. They're the drummers or whatever. It's like, that doesn't make them authority. It makes them popular.
Yeah.
Because they know how to respond and to market to human behavior because they understand that, because they've studied it. So they know what to say, they know what to do, they know what to experience in order. And then you take their humans, the regular humans, and they're looking at that like, oh, that looks so fun and fascinating. I'm going to do what they do. I want what they want because I'm a nobody, because I only have 300 friends and they have 300,000 friends, right? So much of that stuff. But whenever you really come to acknowledge and allow and explore who you really are, all of that stuff drops away. And then you can take out the popcorn.
That is what, oh my gosh, take out the popcorn. This is so damn good. All of it. Everything that you're saying is so good, but not only because you're talking about our individuality. What did you call it?
Bio-individuality.
Bio-individuality. I mean, that is fascinating. Do you do that with clients? I'm just simply curious right now, like actually everyone in your life, like, do you chart out what their human design is? And do you you're
hilarious how many charts I have.
Do you know who, if you will, I'm using air quotes, who all of the people in your life really are? And do you adjust your behavior to them? I'm so curious about that.
I do. I started running birth charts
Mm,
before I ever ran human design. I had someone
gotcha.
hired in my community that ran birth charts on every single person who wanted to work with me.
Mm, mm, that's good. That's
Because
good stuff.
it's really like being the chisel or the wrecking ball, sometimes it feels like being the chisel to crack that facade, that mask, that the
Yeah.
conditioning, the outside layer that so many of us are carrying,
Yeah.
because that's what we've been told to be. That's how we've been I don't want to use the word manipulated, but it kind of is,
But it's true. It's
it's been
okay. Yeah.
suggested that you will have more friends and more fame and more freedom and more whatever. If you
Hmm.
do things this way, you will get the invite. You will be one of the divas. You'll be one of the popular girls or boys. You'll fit in if you make the grades or if you play the sports or if you, right? I mean, take whatever you heard and use that. But it's all someone's suggestibility of what you
Yeah.
should be. And then here we are, people come into this world and they're male and they really don't like females.
Hmm.
They're
Hmm.
females and they really don't like males, or they write all the stuff that's been insinuated, or maybe they are attracted to someone of a different color
Hmm.
and maybe they were taught that that's wrong, or
Hmm.
um, maybe they don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. Maybe they don't give a crap about money.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want luxurious things, or maybe they do and they've
Yeah.
been taught that that's not important, and that's like they've been taught that that's wrong or bad or sinful, or Jesus won't like that if he finds out that you're wishing for something because that makes you greedy and selfish. And Jesus wasn't that way. So, we
Hmm.
really want you to go to heaven. So you should get up on that cross. You
Mm,
should suffer so that you can get there. With that is completely opposite of what the gospel was.
right.
But
Right.
that's the way it's been insinuated and it's been broken down, right? So that's why we're dealing with so much of this stuff. And so my design in particular, I have to cross a plane and I'm a 6'2" generator. I'm off the roof. And so the way I see the world is from I'm a visionary. So I see it from a bigger perspective. So I can see it for the generations to come, but
Hmm.
I'm not really planted here, which has been very painful. And when I recognized and really understood the nature of the 6'2" and who I was, it made so much sense, because the pain and suffering from being disconnected, from not belonging, from being misunderstood. I even speak a different language, right? It's like the
Hmm.
things that I see and the way that the perception and the way that I see things playing out, people are just like, they're kind of fascinated and intrigued, but then they're completely not understanding what I'm talking about, because it's like, it's speaking a different language. But it's because there's that I actually don't have to be what the world says in order to be satisfied.
Oh my God. I don't have to be what the world says. I mean, do you know how huge that is for so many out there?
We were taught opposite.
Right.
It's like
We are supposed to show up this way. We are supposed to
no
be this
one in
way.
the bad seat. There's nothing that anyone has done intentionally. They're
Hmm.
just passing down the same dogma, the same
Hmm.
patterning, the
Hmm.
same
Hmm.
messaging
Hmm.
that they were taught. And they are coming from the intellectual perspective, and the brain is all about safety. And so if you do this, then this will happen. They're trying to predict, but they're not considering the individual. They're
Right.
not considering that we are all unique creative beings.
Yeah.
And when we're in our wholeness and we can contribute in a way that is creative and loving and compassionate, right?
Hmm.
It's like, it
Hmm.
takes a lot of courage to do that, because no one wants to stand out. But if we were all brown M&Ms, seriously, if we were all brown M&Ms.
I love that. I love that analogy. I love that. And that is seriously, Kim, that is beautiful. Um, so I am a 2/4 manifesting generator with sacral authority. What does that mean to you? How would you adjust, if you will, your approach to someone like me?
So the first thing we want to do is look at what's the proper way or the best way for you to make decisions for yourself.
Mm,
Okay.
mhm, mhm,
And so when we're coming from strategy and authority, that's what we're looking for.
mhm.
How do you make your decisions? So for you, as being a sacral authority, it's coming from the gut,
Yeah,
and it's a uh-huh
yeah,
or uh-uh. So think about the little kid with the peas when they're saying uh-uh, uh-uh, uh-uh.
yeah.
And then that was turned off, right? You
Mhm,
have to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. You have to say, like, we did that shit.
mhm.
They
Yeah,
were, you see, you just did it.
yeah.
You're
I
coming
did.
from that sacral authority because you either agree or you disagree.
Yeah.
That's your language.
Mm,
And so when someone's asking you a question, when someone is like, hey, you want to go have pizza? You like check in with your gut, not with your head. Notice when you start rationalizing and making excuses and justifying and explaining, that's the mind.
mm,
But how uncomfortable is that if I say, hey, Sonny, you want to go and do this? And you're like,
yeah,
then there's silence.
yeah.
That's when people start, well, I would like to, but I have this going on. And then I have to go here. And then I'm just like so bored with that shit. Like, I don't want to hear any of that. Just
Yeah.
give me the uh-huh or the uh-uh. I don't need to know why. I don't need to, like, I'm not going to judge you. I don't have a label about what you should or shouldn't do. I'm just asking you a question. Well, it is super hard to relate to people in this world when you come from that, because I
Mhm,
don't need all that. And I don't need you to make me feel good. Matter of fact, it feels very uncomfortable when you're trying to make me not feel the way I feel. It feels very invasive. It feels uncomfortable. Do not try to change me for me to feel a different way, because I'm quite capable of feeling my own stuff and making my own decisions. And so
mm,
one of the rules that I'll do in my community when we have retreats, the first thing when we sit there, and I said, no one is allowed to get a tissue and go and try to make someone feel something that they're not feeling or turn off what they are feeling. That's
mm.
the number one rule. And I will ask you to leave if you do it,
Mm.
because
I
that's what
love
has
that.
happened to us.
Yeah, it
Someone
has.
has told it, like you fall down, you could break, you cut your knee or the skin or whatever, and someone tells you how you should or shouldn't feel. You're feeling sad because you didn't make the basketball team, and you shouldn't feel sad. Or better yet, they'll start comparing those who did and start tearing them down so you feel better. Again, trying to control your feelings.
Mm,
We have lived in a world of manipulation when it comes to our emotions. Turn it off, don't feel it, feel more. And then this is the part that drives me crazy. You want to get the fire coming out of me?
do it. Let's go.
That's what the popcorn is about right now.
Hmm,
You are playing, like, I had COVID and I recovered from COVID. And
hmm.
I commented on Dave Asprey's thing on Instagram. He was talking about Joe Rogan recovered, and like there was this ugly headline about it. And I would say those who recovered from COVID should create their own damn headline,
Hmm.
because you're not hearing from those people because they're being shamed for surviving.
Wow. Ooh, that's good. They're
So
being
when I said
shamed for
that, there's two
surviving.
people commented, a couple of doctors, it's like, oh yeah, let's ask the ones who are dead or on oxygen. It's like, oh yeah, right. I'm like, don't be
Hmm, hmm,
sarcastic. Like,
hmm,
here it is.
hmm, hmm,
This is when you want to make me feel bad about my experience, and you want to invalidate my experience,
hmm.
and you want it to be different, and it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Invalidation. Wow. Yeah, that's huge. And we do
what
that so much. And right now, especially right now, it is very much pick a side. Pick a side.
Well, they're gonna have a
And
hard time with me because I don't have a fucking side.
love it. I love
I
it. I mean,
don't. I'm not
seriously.
that interested.
Yeah.
I have a
Right.
side, and it's not that I'm selfish, and it's not that I've excluded, and it's not that I'm bypassing. I'm actually in the full experience, and I allow other people to have their own experience. I
Yes.
honor it, and I
Hmm,
validate it, and I
hmm.
understand it, and I can give them compassion and empathy. I'm not in charge of it.
I love that. Exactly. There is nothing you can do. It's like everyone that is yelling. I mean, and again, this is COVID, but this is with anything. This is with politics. This is with the latest legislation in Texas. We're both in Texas right now. And I'm telling you, as a female in Texas, I'm fucking livid about things. And I'm also not sounding off on social media about you need to be livid as well. Everybody else needs to be livid. Like, I'm fine being open and honest with my position, and I'm not trying to change anyone else's position. Does that make sense?
Well, what I was going to say, the thing that pisses me off so much is I don't watch TV. Like, I'm just not interested, but my husband does.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll pass by and I'm like, it's so often this commercial plays and
Yeah.
it's these puppies and they have this terrible, it's like they're really playing on emotion.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Mm-hmm.
using psychology to sell. They're working on your guilt. They're not putting these cute little puppies that need to be adopted. They're going, it's just like they did with the children who were starving, right? They're playing on emotion. Well, that's the exact same thing that's happening here. The influencers are playing on emotion to make things go their way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just their world.
Right. It's not just their
all
world.
of our world. And so you can have your yellow Skittle, you can have your blue Skittle or your red or your grape flavored or whatever it is, and you can be that. But we're having a hard time giving people permission.
Taste the whole rainbow. I love that you're using Skittles.
That's fighting for gays or bisexuals or whatever it is, and then separating them from the normal folk or the whatever folk, right? There's that, instead of just all collaborating in a way of being in our own experience. And it's okay. Don't sit at their table if you're not interested. Don't go to that restaurant. Don't go there. Like, if that's not what you want to hear or what you want to see, you have choices.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go as far as, like, you can move. You don't have to stay in Texas.
Right. Right. I mean, we have,
and I'm not saying that as if I'm on one side or the other. I'm saying don't be a victim. You have choices.
Yeah. Yeah. And
you might be called out for it. You might be put away for it, but you do have choices, right?
And more choices than we've ever had. Right. I mean, we continue to have choices. And I know, I mean, the latest feels like I'm using air quotes because it's not a feeling. It really is a thought about, but my rights are being stripped away, that kind of thing. So it does feel like a very solid victim role to fall into in your movie.
I'm not saying we don't. Listen, I have to work through my own shame and guilt and fear and embarrassment, like all of that stuff. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong.
Right, right.
I'm saying it is.
It is.
It is. So what are you going to do now? So here's what is here.
What is what feels
now
right for you? Yes, what feels right for you? This has happened. This has happened. This is what it is. You had no control over that. You also have no control over influencing other people to come over to, quote unquote, your side of the matter, whatever that might be.
Well, because people want to belong, it has worked up until now. But right now, there's a lot of falling apart of the systems, which takes me back to human design. This is like, and I'm going to say this from a 6-line perspective, is that we've embodied and understand the change that's coming. And because we're the visionary, and I'm coming from the perspective of 6-2, I'm not just saying this as if it's truth. So don't take my word for it, guys. Go and check it out.
Right.
Like, go check it out for yourself, especially if you're a 6-line being, because there is something that is different. We do see something different. We do understand in a different way, the same way a 5-1 for all of you out there who are 5-1s. Quit trying to not investigate. You're always going to investigate, but you don't have to buy all the certifications and programs. You could just investigate just because it's satisfying to you, because that is the actual mechanics. That's really what's going on in your body, in your design. So explore that. If you're a manifesting generator, you're going to skip steps. You're going to move ahead. You're going to have to come back and redo some things. You're going to leave some things. You got to recheck it. You can do one of two things. You can know that about yourself. And if you're doing a very important project, you can make a list. Or you can just go ahead and be okay with missing some things and going back and jumping the other way and being in the experience of who you are.
Yeah. Ooh, being in the experience of who you are. So as you are talking about these things, and I'm just, my mind is just going with all kinds of questions. But here is, as a mother, as a grandmother, I'm talking to you. I mean, and I am a mother of one. That's what I have, as I have a 12-year-old son. And I'm so fascinated by human design. And I am the recipient of all of the emails from the teachers saying he's not doing this,
Oh
this,
yeah.
that, I mean, seriously. So can we touch on, I know this is huge, but can we touch on like the schooling and that structure and that kind of thing, and the fact that we society expect our children to be robots. We
Mhm.
expect them to, because here, if I were to pull up the email right now, it was like 5 or 6 bullet points about, you know, he's about how loud and disruptive he is. And that's been his entire school career since he was 5 years old. This
What's
is
his
what
design? What's his human design?
I'm gonna have to look that up, but
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know.
no,
So I
I did do it. I just I didn't have it on the ready for this conversation. It just,
I did a
came to me.
podcast with a client of mine who works with ADD children and all of that stuff that they hear, like kind of on this. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what we were talking about is once she learned her children's human design, which I think
Mm-hmm.
they were all two or maybe three, all three of them were 6'2s. And she was like, holy shit, just from working with you, I understand so much more about the 6'2. And I
Mm-hmm.
see where they were just being themselves. And there
Mm-hmm.
was no place in the system for them because
Mm.
in order to be in the system, you have to be this certain way. Now, here's what's happening. The teacher is uncomfortable. The teacher doesn't like the way it's working out. And so if
Right.
she can control all 30 kids, then she can have a better experience, right?
Yes.
So
Right.
it's kind of like
Right.
with us as coaches, like people don't come to us because they're having an amazing experience.
True. This
It's
is
like
true.
that's our job. That's what we
Yeah.
sign up for, is to
Yeah.
help take them back to their sovereign self, to their wholeness, to help them
Mm-hmm.
identify what are the beliefs that are taking you away from the essence that you truly are. But they
Mm-hmm.
don't have these tools. They don't have the resources. So you're right in the middle of it. And listen, I got stories about that. I put my
I'm
kids on
sure.
Adderall. I moved their school. I
Oh.
mean, I tried all of that stuff because again, that not fitting in, that not being a part of that, not being able to follow the system. But if they're a 5-1 and they're a manifesting generator or they're a generator and they're in their, or even if they're a manifester and they're
Mm-hmm.
in their natural state, it is not going to fit in that classroom because they are not seen as their in their bio individuality. They are supposed to behave like all the other children because that's the way
Yes.
the system is. The medical community is the same way. It's
Yeah.
not really highly intelligent yet. They
Right.
don't understand that repressed emotions are causing the chronic illness and disease
Mm-hmm.
because that's too woo and it can't be
Mm-hmm.
proven, although it
Mm-hmm.
will be. It
Mm-hmm.
already
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
It already is. There's already like Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Hort Math. They already working on this. It will come.
Yeah.
But it's not here right now. Just like the system is falling apart so that we can come to sovereignty and bio individuality. But right now, we're in a system that's trying to control us. It's combusting, it's
Yes.
falling apart.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then you'll have these freedom speakers, these influencers with the blueberry pancakes, right? That they're all on board until it doesn't go their way. I learned this through when Trump was
Beautiful.
elected.
Mm-hmm.
My whole feed, I had selected, hand selected everyone in Facebook. They were yoga teachers or they were meditation or they were coaches or they were my people, man. I
Mm-hmm.
was traveling all over doing yoga teacher training and I'd met these amazing people. And then when the election happened, I watched them turn black. Like I'm talking
Mm.
like in the darkness and ugly and hate. And I was like, oh my God, where is all the love and compassion
Yeah.
and understanding what is happening here? That's when I really noticed it taking effect.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it again when it doesn't go my way and I have a loud voice. You should shut up, not have an opinion, and do it like I want.
Ooh. Oh my God. That is so good.
And
All
so
right.
there's piles of that, right? There's groups of that
Mm-hmm.
that's happening. But I believe if we all looked at our human design and we became our sovereign self, we became who we are, I don't think we would have all of this.
So what I love about human design is, honestly, even just having that knowledge could change so much of our world. Just understanding that. By the way, as you were talking, I did pull up my son's, he is a 2-5 projector. So I don't know what that means, but I do know I have compared, I have looked it up and I have compared, like, um, how I react, or what my motivations are
Mhm,
specifically
mhm.
as a 2-4 manifesting generator versus his,
So the
and that kind of
projector,
thing.
let me tell you the projector's greatest pain in my experience of working with projectors
Mm,
is that they are here to guide us. They
mm,
are so wise,
mm.
but their wisdom has to be invited. It has to be recognized. So it's
Yeah.
like, hey, Johnny, can you help with this? Like if the teacher would knew that,
Yeah.
and knew what, like could really sense who he was and would invite him to participate or to be a part of, or because
Mm-hmm.
typically what they're fighting is, you don't see me, you don't hear me, I am brilliant, why can't you see I'm here to help? But
Mm.
because they don't have the invitation, they can't be heard. And
Ooh.
if ever you've seen a projector trying to promote themselves, there's a lot of suffering. It's really hard to watch, especially now that I understand it so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to watch because they're, I'm going to use these words and it might not, I don't know how your audience feels about this, but it's like whoring yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need you to see me. I need you to understand you. I need you to get me. I need you. And it's
Yeah.
icky and sticky and
Yeah.
it's, and so if they could just sit back in their natural essence and do what brings them satisfaction and
Mm.
success and like what feels good to me, and they could be quiet in a noisy place,
Mm.
they will be recognized.
Mm. God, this
The
is helping me so
impatience
much already.
for
Yes.
wanting to be
An
seen and wanting to be
invitation.
honored and wanting to be
Yeah.
valid, and they can't get it because they're trying to force it.
Yeah.
They're like, they see the others and so they think they're like everyone else because, right, we weren't taught that we're bio individualities and
Right.
bio individuals, and so you're looking how to behave
Mm-hmm.
according to your environment and how they behave. You take a kid who was raised in a ritzy rich kind of neighborhood, the way they behave, the toys they play with, their needs and wants, and then you take one that's in the hood in the trailer park, right?
Mm-hmm.
Completely different. They learn that you have to steal, you have to fight, you have to be tough, you have to like protect yourself.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine these kids, the reflector, the projector, the reflectors, the manifesting generators, the generators, they're in a room with these other, I don't know, 30 to 100 people, whatever it
Yeah.
is. And they're trying to figure out who they are and what their place is. And we've all been taught to make them a certain way. So they'll be popular, so they'll be rich, so they'll be successful, so
Mm.
everybody will like them. And then that's what's actually breaking down
Mm-hmm.
and putting on this mask.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be someone else for me to be liked, for me to be valid, for me to be heard, for me to be seen, when it's the opposite.
Oh my
And
God.
myself, for me to be recognized, for me to be seen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm figuring this stuff out in my 40s, right? And just the idea of trying to navigate that as a child, like I'm trying to remember what that experience was like for me. I know it was not fun. I know it was not. I know it was a less than pleasant, we shall say, experience. And yes, my audience is totally, I mean, the whoring yourself out. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like I would do anything to be liked and to be accepted and to be connected and to be, I would do what else? What else do I
Mm-hmm.
need to do? What else do I need to do? I
Yeah.
mean, can I
Yeah.
give you everything? Can I give you all my money? Can I, like what's going to be required for me to connect? What's going
Yeah.
to be required for me to, what do I need to do? Who do I need to be? Just tell me who to be. Tell me what you want. Tell me what's going to make you happy.
Mm. And we all do it. We've all experienced that to some degree, and that has shaped who we become
Well,
later.
it's human nature.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
our very survival comes from this,
Yeah.
from thousands of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The very survival of human existence came from that. Because if I'm not safe, if I get eaten by the lions and tigers and bears, if I can't feed my family, we will be extinct. We
Yeah.
won't have sex and we won't have more of us. And
Right.
so that is built in our system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in our nervous system. It's been passed down from generations. Like that's the patterning that happens, the imprint that's happening on a visceral level, like on a, you're thinking of this. It's like not just, it's your neurology, your nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
your psychology, it's your mentality, it's your personality, it's your perception, all of that. There's so many parts to our humanity.
Yeah.
We're not just the head. We're not just mindset. That's
It's
what
more
my
than
podcast
mindset.
is
It's
called,
more than mindset. I know. I love your
more than
podcast.
mindset. I come from
Yeah.
this, from a yoga teacher, meditation, body work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a massage therapist. And so this is coming from that experience, the somatics and the metaphysics, and really understanding what tears down the system in the body, what creates illness and disease. Why we're not being our authentic self is because it's not safe and we haven't been accepted. So we haven't given ourselves enough experience to get used to it, to get familiar. That's why I started Self-Healing Masters. I was like, I'm going to build a container where you can come and try out your design, come and question it, come and meet other people, come and explore it, find out someone else who has something familiar with you, so you can play with it. And then you can take that and go out into the world and be eaten by it. At least in your close environment at the beginning, right? Because there's this standoffish, she's crazy, that's woo. That's okay. They can say all of that. It doesn't matter. Yeah. I'm a role model regardless, and I'm going to model what I do, what I've learned, what I've experienced. And that just feels good to me. And it's okay now. Rejection is not personal. It's a choice.
Ooh, rejection is not personal.
It's a choice. It's a choice to feel rejected.
Whose choice? Oh, you're okay. Yeah. That's what I was getting ready to ask.
All of your feelings are a choice. It's a choice to feel rejected.
That's so good. That is such a solid reminder, and really bringing it back to you and your own power. Your own power. We don't talk about that. We don't empower our children in the classroom, and we don't empower ourselves.
And I'm the same way. Like I did this with my children, because I'm like, we were pretty tough on them. They all do really well. They're super independent, but I was like, that is the teacher's classroom. She is the authority. You're going to listen, and she's always going to be right. Right. And what I did was I silenced my children. Yeah. Because they're not always right. And they don't always know. And they don't, right? But I did that. So when I was talking to Kayla on the podcast, that's what we were talking about. And I was like, oh my God, I just realized I did that too. Like, in order for my child to be liked because they were well behaved, I wanted them to close down who they truly are and be someone who could be received the way the system thought they should. But I didn't notice it until after. I've done a lot of apologizing. I don't live in regret. I don't live in remorse. I take the experience and I teach. Yeah. I teach about it. I was like, this is, I screwed up a lot. Like I did a lot of, I didn't, because I was part of that also until I wasn't. And it was only because I was dying. I mean, I had 15 surgeries and I was on medication for 24 years, 7 different meds that took me up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down all the way to bedtime, and then back up again in the morning. Wow. And that was the cocktail that I was prescribed. I was told I would be depressed my entire life. I was probably manic depressive, and like they gave all the stories. If you could hear them, I heard them. And removing like so many elective body parts, like having 15 surgeries. Wow. Because I believed other people's authority. I overrode, I didn't question, and I let those authorities be correct about my body and about me. I didn't have the resources. I looked, I searched, I spent thousands of dollars and a lot of time trying to figure this out. I'm in the South, and this is medicine of the South. This is what they know, and this is how I was treated, and I believed that they were the authority, so I had no reason to question. They just remove things, and you don't need this. You don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Oh, wow. Yeah, so I did from personal experience. So if someone has a problem with that, that's their problem. I'm not lying. I woke up from a suicide attempt. I survived it. I was pissed about it. Like they can't invalidate my experience if I don't allow it to be invalidated. Say that again. They can't invalidate my experience if I don't allow it to be invalidated. Like if I can validate it myself. Yeah. They can think and say whoever they are, whatever they want, that goes against what they're saying. But I have been in the church where the priest said, I won't stand here to pretend that this is okay when there was a suicide. Like, I'm like, well, I'm not going to stand here and pretend that it's okay that you're judging that soul. You don't know what that soul came here to do. Maybe the whole purpose was to open up the hearts of those 50 guys who were here that loved him very dearly. Didn't want their 19-year-old friend to be buried and be in that casket either, right? But who are you to judge what that soul came to do? You are not the authority of that soul. That is so beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful, and I'm also like absorbing the pain
of it too, right? Of that path of
How you should
walking that
behave or
road.
what you should do or what's wrong or who can send you to hell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And this is the whole thing that's coming up with the abortion
Mm-hmm.
stuff too, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not your concern,
It
nor
isn't.
do you know.
Right.
You don't know. And anyone pretending they know is a liar. They don't know.
Right. Right. And that is where I stand in my own authority and say, this is why it's a problem for me, is saying that, technically, I mean, by these legal definitions, technically the 2 ectopic pregnancies that I had and the second one that nearly killed me, by your definition, those embryos had heartbeats by your definition. So, I am a survivor of 2 ectopics, and I am a survivor of a suicide attempt as well. So, I mean, I get it. This is all so it's like, yeah, go ahead.
It's just conversation of humanity. This is demystifying
Yeah.
the human experience.
Yeah.
It's just experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that damnation and sending someone to hell is to control them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes. 100%.
Now there's some great motive behind it, right? The teacher, the parent, the one that's trying to keep the child safe. The same thing with abortion and suicide and all this stuff. It's like, and look, it kept me alive for a long time, believing that.
Yeah.
I might have been resentful about it, but it did keep me alive.
Yeah.
until I had to like really grow into myself and find another reason to stay alive, not because I was scared of hell, but because I realized I was living in hell and that's why I wanted to die, and that hell is the perception.
Yes.
And once I realized that I had the access within myself, then I no longer needed that. And that's what they don't want, because then they're no longer the authority.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying. I've been blessed and cursed with an open mind and with not judging humanity. I mean, if I look at my human design chart and I showed you everything that I'm talking about, this is all coming through self-discovery. And it's just like, it would be me arguing with the essence of who I am, which is this huge love for humanity and helping humanity shift. So I don't have an ulterior motive. And I understand that's very confusing for the humans, because they do believe that if I come into a room and I have this service to offer, this, like, I want to share this experience. And then they're like, oh yeah, she's just doing that to try to get business, or she's just doing that to show, like, all that stuff starts coming up and their insecurity starts showing. I told you this the other day when we were on that call with all the 5 ones, and I said, this is the point when I leave, and I left. And I was like, this is what happens. There's this, like, as if there's a poking of the bear, but actually I'm just being in my essence. I have the 15.23 times. I am all about those extremes. I go from one extreme to the other. It's like it is this magnetism, and that intimidates some people. It's uncomfortable for some people, right? There's this cancel culture. Yeah. We need to get rid of the thing that makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. And now I'm onto it so much so, because it's happened so many times, that I'm like, when I feel it, I'm like, I'm out. This is not the place for me. I'm not going to stand here and pretend I'm the alcoholic in order to belong, right? Like, I went to AA, like, I was an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. Do I belong here? Do I belong here? Like, where do I belong? And then constantly being too much or not enough, too much or not enough. Mm-hmm. But that's not my problem. Mm-hmm. That's the discomfort of the experience that other people experience in that presence. Ooh. It's just to bring it up in them. Where am I not enough? They could ask that question. Where am I not being enough? Where am I not seeing myself? Where am I not outspoken? Where am I not being what I am? And unapologetically.
I often say that to myself, and I, and others, and think about, like, anyone that comes into your life. I do not believe in accidents. I do not believe that there is a reason, there is a purpose. And that includes the people that come into your life that actually really shake things up inside of you and make you feel awful, right? Right. You're generating those feelings, but it's always like, what's that experience? What do I need to look in the mirror and find about myself? What is being reflected to me in this person?
It's just an offer. Yeah, it's an offer. Like, I will
Mm-hmm.
repel some, I will attract some. What
Mm-hmm.
is the offer? Like I can offer you something either way just by being present, and you could offer to take something just by being present. We can get something from each other. What I'm experiencing is the aspect of me that is in you.
Yeah.
And what you are experiencing is the aspect of me
Yeah.
that either you want more of or you want to turn off. And then you
Mm.
go and make a story of that with your mind. And then
Mm.
you make it about me personally.
That's beautiful. That is so perfect. That is so perfectly stated. That is exactly what we do. We make a story about it. We write a movie script. We do that. And usually we are playing the victim role.
Well, and
That's what we're doing.
recognizing the victim role is the first step to the transformation.
It
Like
is.
we have to first recognize that that is human behavior. It just
Mm-hmm.
is. That's
Mm-hmm.
human nature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can't change human nature. That's why I'm willing to be in my shame. I'm willing to be in my envious and jealousy and all that stuff. I'm not proud of it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I was hurting myself because I was trying not to experience it, because I thought I'm better than that.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't be feeling that way. I shouldn't be experiencing that, but I am. That's the truth. And I had a call with a coach earlier today, and I was like, I have the popcorn out and I'm watching all of this, and I'm actually taking pleasure in it because I know what it feels like to want something to change so badly and it not change. And I see your frustration, and I am like in the joy of it. Is that crazy? No, it's because I feel like I belong and I understand and I'm connected to that aspect of them, because we have a 28% suicide rate here. I'm pretty passionate about suicide. I've
Wow.
got a lot of stories about suicide. My brother hung himself. My son's best friend hung himself. One of my closest friends shot herself in the head. We had a suicide here that someone I went to school with 2 weeks ago. My neighbor on the very next road to me, she left 2 kids about a few months ago. Like it's huge, right? And I have a lot of story about it, and I have a lot of reason for it. And I served on the board to try to help this here, right? But there's so many that don't want to talk about it, want to make, oh yes, like they were crazy anyway. That's the shit you hear. That's why people don't come out and they don't talk about it, because then you get the label and you get the judgment. And then if anything goes wrong or you have a day where you're in a bad mood, then they're going to have, like, they're going to bring that label and judgment up, and they're going to make a story out of it. So of course no one wants to talk about it, right? And I'm very passionate about it, and it means a lot to me, but I don't want to save people. I don't want to change their path. I just want to educate and give them the tools and the resources to know that there's an option that they might not have considered, because there's only a handful of things we do. We shut down and we eject, so we don't feel, right?
Yeah.
We react and we try to put that shit on someone else.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening right now. We're trying to put our pain, they're trying to put the judgment and the fear and all the things on someone else to try to change them, right? Let me take it out of me and throw it on you. We can do our own work.
Yeah.
Radical personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Or we eject permanently. So we shut down, we lash out, we do our own work, or we leave.
Wow. All right. 28%. Is that like in your
almost
area?
A third of our people that in my parish.
Or is it okay? Okay. I was going to say, is that a national number? 28%. That's
It's 1/3 of the people who die will die by their own hands. Because we have there's a lot of scarcity, and there is so much oppression, right? So we have these repressed emotions that we were taught not to feel, that we completely turned off, locked away, put in Pandora's box. Now you have this mask that'll hide it forever, because if they feel the shame or whatever, that part of themselves, they think they won't be accepted, right? So it's repressed. Then we have suppressed, which is, I should not feel this way. Let me go and hide this and pretend that I'm not. Got it? Then we have oppression, which is living in an environment, living in a household, living in a community or a state where all of it is oppressed. The message is oppressed. The environmental message that's been sent out is about, you can't do that because, you can't have that because, that's not how things work here. So it's an environmental message. Right? So you have generational patterning that's come down for generations to generations. That's what we're standing in the gap of, so that we can change, so that our children don't experience it. Because believe it or not, when we change the cells in our body, when we change the way that we are, it's automatically passed down 7 generations. The change stops.
Oh, so 7 generations.
Yeah, that's what we're feeling. And so just like that negativity is passed down, this can be passed down also. The awareness can be passed down also, right? And so we have generational patterning, we have societal conditioning, we have religious dogma, and we have the environmental message. And so that oppression is like the boot on the neck. Like, we're going to oppress this. You can't be who you are. It's not like, don't be a big shot. Get down off that pedestal. You better be quiet. Who the hell you think you are? That.
Yeah.
That's what causes depression. That's what causes people to want to exit, because they don't know there's another avenue. They don't know that there's another option. They don't know of the tools and the skills because it hasn't been taught. And so that's kind of a big deal to me, because I have 5 children and 12 children who are here. Like, it's not just me. And I remember like how hard it was to live in this and to be different and to see things different, and how I was ridiculed for that. Like being against the church. I'm married to someone who was married before, so I was damned to hell for that. You can't receive Jesus if you can't go to communion, and you can't, like, it's just the story after story after story, which is complete pain, complete disconnection. Like, it's labeling and ridiculing and separating. And it's like, come, Jesus is for everyone. Come, except for you, except for you, except for you. If you've been a human, then you can't come. Right. Now, Jesus came to teach us how to be a human.
Yeah. Supposedly. I mean, that's what.
Now we know why there were only 11 and a half disciples. There were a lot of people watching, right? There are a lot of people telling the story. And I'm saying this from that perspective. But how many people? Because Ross says with human design, 4%. 4% are actually going to live by the strategy and authority. The rest are going to completely avoid it and say it's nothing. And then the others are going to intellectualize it and try to learn it from the mind.
4%. Wow. 4%. Okay. What is, let's bring it back to that, by the way. What is strategy? I know what my authority is, because I see the word when I, do the design test, and I plug in my birth date and my, all of that. But what is the strategy? Is that where the projector in
so this is how you'll know is if you're in your design, is you will feel satisfaction. If you don't feel satisfaction, you will feel frustration. Frustration is the sign. That's the knock on the door. That's the first headache. That's the first symptom to say, hey, something's out of alignment. I need your attention here. Yeah. So when you're feeling frustrated, you're not in satisfaction. So if you're not in satisfaction, you're not in your design. You're not in your authority. You're not making decisions from your authority. So that's strategy and authority. It's using it to make decisions, to move forward in your life, to experience your life in a different way, to be in authority of the decisions that you make, because they align with you, because you're using your sacral, your or That's it. If you just go practice this for a week or two, just practice or when you're asked something, when you're invited to something, when you could be scrolling through Facebook, because your job is to respond. Yeah. So responding is not necessarily me calling you up and asking you a question or inviting you. You could be on social media and someone's making an offer. They're pitching something. Hey, come to my webinar. Hey, come. That's an invitation.
Right.
And so you respond with your sacral. Right. You're like,
that was a total accident. Me saying, it really was.
So for me, I have emotional authority. And so I feel the waves. So I get really excited and I'm like, can't decide yet. Right. Then I feel like the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. And I don't make a decision until there's no more pressure.
Ooh, okay. All right. That is so fascinating. All of this is so fascinating. I could carry this conversation on for another good hour.
Yeah, we're way. And I don't even know how we started this out and if we even went to human design.
I know, right? It's like, I think we skimmed the surface. I do. I think we skimmed the surface, but it has been such an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for having that with me today. How can people reach you if they would like to interact with you more?
Pretty easily. So I have a podcast that's called More Than Mindset, as well as a free Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Instagram under my name, Kim Guillory, and on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, like, go to Instagram, click on my link. There's so many options there. We do
Yeah.
live human design immersion classes where you come, you bring your strategy and authority. Like, that's the next class, is
Mm-hmm.
you're going to bring your chart. And then we're going to sit in this immersion in this 2-hour group, and we're going to have this conversation. And each person is going to be able to relate to their design, but also relate to someone else. That's why it's called an immersion. So this is what we do in Self-Healing Masters. Self-Healing Masters is my membership. It's a coaching membership,
Mm-hmm.
but it brings in human design, gene keys, and really understanding the essence of who you truly are. It's the place for you to practice your design. That is safe, because you're not in your environment that's got judgment or that sees you as the old identity. That's the problem. It's not that they don't love you. They're just like, hey, when did you decide to change? What's happening? I don't know who you are. This is uncomfortable. And so it's a place for you to practice, see if it works, see if it feels right. So the immersion happens in the group calls, but the integration happens in the community.
Ooh, I love it.
So it's like, it's not expensive. It's like $37 and you can come to one of the classes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to, or whoever's listening, if they go to my Instagram, they'll find when that next class is.
Okay.
So that's how we started. And it's like, it's really reasonable. Plus, if you decide to come into the community, we credit the class. And so it's like, it's really just to introduce it to more people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very selfish about it. Like, I have a reason for my satisfaction. My world is a better place when I have more people speaking my language, or speaking this language, a language that's understood. That I like, when looking at my chart and knowing who I am, and having like the 59-6, and being really passionate about intimacy and relationships and honesty and openness. Like, if I can have a community or a space where we can be whole, where we can be mature, and where we can have vulnerable conversations in honesty, and not react. Like, there's no rules there. There's nothing you can't talk about. Because when the COVID stuff was coming up, I had, these young moms who were sending their kids to school, and they're like, I don't know if I can talk about mask, or I don't know if I can talk about, like, is it okay? And I was like, everything is okay to talk about here. If you're human and you're having an experience, it is welcome here. So kimguillory.com is my website. I'm really easy to find. I mean, if they
I will definitely add all of your links to the show notes. This is so good, Kim. Thank you. Thank you so very much for this conversation today. It's been amazing. I cannot tell you how quickly time passed for me while we were recording this. Wow. It was a wonderful experience all around. I will share this as a bit of a PS to the conversation that we just had. After we wrapped, I did email my son's teacher, and I threw out a couple of suggestions for how he, quote unquote, best operates, if you will. I didn't say, well, he's a 2-5 projector with splenic authority and his strategy is to be invited. Can you imagine? No, I just said, perhaps invite him to help you in some way. It could be a win-win for you both. Yet, wouldn't it be fun if we all knew each other on this level and could adapt accordingly? Listen, I have taken just about every personality test out there. When I managed teams of people in corporate settings, we would make a game out of doing the Hartman color code because it's very basic, just to get to know each other better and honestly kind of set expectations and position us to tailor our interactions with one another. But this isn't about personality or your experience as a child as much as it gets right to the core of who you freaking are, who you came here to be. If you are listening to this episode at the time it is published, I will say that Kim is currently offering a human design immersion on September 23rd. And I'm going to link that up in show notes too, because I'm totally doing this myself. It's very affordable. Come join us. If you're catching this later or simply want to know more about Kim, all of the other ways to connect with her are also linked. She has a very robust social media presence and all kinds of offerings. Her podcast is amazing. I am honored to have not only been able to spend some time with Kim, but also to bring our conversation to you today. I am honored that you listened to all of this. It means you are ready to light up and shine on